In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down different press break basketball plays that you can run with your team that are super simple that you can run with the youngest of basketball teams. Let's get down, let's check this out. Okay, so the press that we're going to be trying to beat today is the 1-2-1-1. This is one of the most common presses that you're going to probably see. Obviously, the blue team is the offensive team. That's us. We need to try and beat that 1-2-1-1. How we're going to start in this first play is player 2 is going to be cutting across the key to the opposite block, and player 3 is going to be cutting across to, of course, the block on the ball side. Once they get to those blocks, you want to go just maybe a bit wider. You do not want to go to the corner. You want to stay out of the corners. Do not ever go to the corners. That's where they want you. And you're going to get that ball inbound to one of these two players, player 3 being the obvious number 1 choice because it's on ball side. That's going to then draw players 1 and 2 over, generally speaking, depending on how tight the press is. That could push these two players to trap. But if that happens, it's just a quick pass to half court. Believe me, it should be able to work, unless, of course, player 4 is shadowing that side. If they're not trapping yet and it's still just one single man, we're going to then have player 1 move into the middle of the key, and we want to have that quick reverse pass to player 1. At this time, we're going to have player 3 and player 2 moving up the sidelines, and player 1 trying to tack down the middle as much and as far as possible. The whole idea here is we want player 4 and 5 to slowly move down court. And when that happens, you're going to see that multiple different players are going to be trying to collapse on player 1. They really do not want that ball to go up the middle. Player 1 will essentially then have 2 or 4 different options, 2 being better than the other 2. And that'll be trying to hit players 4 and 5 at half court or just past half court. Again, keep away from those 2 corners. That's dead man's zone. If those 2 players are not open and there's a trap here, we want a quick pass out to players 2 or 3. But again, number 1 options are players 5 and 4. If you have a good enough ball handler as well, he could also break that 2, and of course if he can, which I do have a player on my team who's able to do that, luckily enough, then we are usually in a 3-on-1 situation as long as we can get past that middle of that zone. You'll notice that in this press break that we set up, that I had my point guard inbounding the ball. The whole reason for that is, of course, this should be the best passer on the team, but the whole main idea here is, of course, to have player 1 be that man coming in so that we can get that ball reversed back to him. And of course, he would be the one going up court. That's what point guards do. They get that ball past half. Now, this is actually very similar to a regular press break where you just sprint down to your spots. And of course, still just run in and do the exact same motions. Again, this is another option. Either crossing or not crossing, it doesn't really necessarily matter. If you've got a team that you run this with and they cross sometimes and then other times they forget to cross, don't worry about it. It's literally the exact same thing. If, however, these players are not open, let's say player 2 has them, like player 1 and 2, they have them completely covered, we want player 4 to then sprint down that sideline to be potentially open and player 5 cutting to the middle of the key. If these 2 players are open, player 1 can pass to one of those 2 players, player 4 being the easiest one that should be open. And if that's the case and he gets that ball, he wants to try and dribble it as much as or fast as he can down court to get past half. That's obviously going to be drawing player 4 over, and we want player 5 to be then also sprinting up court because then player 4 could just easily pass to player 5 and you can set up the offense there. Now, this is another simple press break, but it's the one that's most messed up by players and, of course, coaches who may not fully understand it. And I've seen a team very locally to me run this, and they ran it totally wrong. They had all 4 players running towards the baseline, which then just clogs everything up down here, especially at the younger age groups, and it's going to make it extremely hard to be able to get that ball past half. If you're going to be running a press break like this, where it's a up front 4 style press break, you're going to be doing one of 2 things. Players 2 and 3 are going to be sprinting towards the baseline, and players 5 and 4 are going to be sprinting to half. The whole idea here is player 1 is going to be generally looking for player 3 or player 4 down court. This would be ran if you had player 1 having a very good arm. Or you could run it the total opposite, where player 4 and 5 sprint towards the baseline. Player 5 being on an angle because you never want to go straight down. That's a very hard pass to make with a defender. And the whole main idea here would be to get that ball inbounded. Players 3 and 2 would then be essentially cutting across the court, and player 4 would be looking to pass to one of them. This is an easy press break, but at the same time very complicated for players to try to figure out each of the different 4 positions. What you will find if you try to run this with a young team or an inexperienced team is they just all 4 will run to the baseline and it just will not work. However, the simplicity is there. You just have to make sure to practice it a lot. Another interesting one that I've seen ran quite often is this, where player 2 will only have one player running to the ball, by the way. Player 2 will be running to the ball, get that ball inbound, and then player 1 runs inbounds. Again, reverse that ball around, and what you are trying to do here is to try to get player 2 as wide as possible, as high as possible. You're going to get that ball inbound, and that's going to be shifting the defense around. You'll have player 1 move inbound, reverse that ball, and do a quick pass out to that sideline, and at which point you've then beat the press. This is a very, very easy, but if you're coaching a very young team who cannot make a pass from underneath the net to half court, this is not the play for you. If you're coaching generally grade 5 or 6 and up, this should be an ideal press break for you if you don't have many ball handlers. Make sure to go check out my Unbeatable Basketball Zone Defense book down in the description below, and my complete guide to the 5-out offense if you're looking to run a very simple offense. I hope that you guys have enjoyed today's video. If you have, hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys again next time.